The video opens on a tense morning in Kuala Lumpur, where a crowd is beginning to gather outside the US embassy. It is the second day of protests in Malaysia, sparked by the Israeli military's interception of a Gaza-bound humanitarian flotilla earlier this week. The camera first captures a wide shot of demonstrators massing near the embassy gates. The scene is calm but charged with purpose. Protesters hold banners in Malay, Arabic and English, demanding the release of those detained by Israeli forces. Many in the crowd have personal stakes in this crisis. Several of the detained passengers are Malaysian citizens. The footage moves in closer, showing a medium shot of protesters standing shoulder to shoulder in the humid October air. The chants of Free Gaza and Justice for Palestine reverberate against the tall walls of the US diplomatic mission. For many here, the protest is not just a show of solidarity, but also a message to Washington. Seen by them as Israel's staunchest ally. Flags ripple across the frame, Palestinian flags raised high above the heads of the marchers. The green, red, black and white colours create a moving sea of defiance against the concrete backdrop of the embassy. A wide shot follows as more people approach the rally site. Entire families, parents carrying small children, walk towards the gathering. Students from local universities join in, some wearing keffiyehs draped over their shoulders, their faces set with a determined seriousness. The camera zooms in to capture a close-up of marchers holding flags. The focus shifts to their expressions, anger mixed with grief and determination. Some raise their voices in prayer, others chant slogans demanding an end to the blockade on Gaza. Another wide shot frames the embassy gates, now surrounded by the crowd. The air is filled with rhythmic chants and the waving of flags. Placards held high read messages such as "Stop the siege," "Humanity before politics," and "Release our Malaysians now." This demonstration in Malaysia reflects a global wave of anger and frustration following the Israeli Navy's interception of the Gaza aid flotilla. The convoy, organised by international activists and humanitarian groups, had set sail with essential supplies, medical equipment, food and water purifiers for the besieged Palestinian enclave. The interception by Israeli forces carried out in international waters triggered not only diplomatic protests, but also street demonstrations in several countries, including Malaysia, Indonesia, Turkey and Colombia. The Malaysian government has condemned the incident, calling it a violation of international law. Prime ministerial statements earlier in the day urged for the immediate release of Malaysian nationals detained on the flotilla and demanded safe passage for humanitarian aid to reach Gaza. That official stance appears to have galvanized public sentiment, bringing citizens from different walks of life into the streets. Back on the ground in Kuala Lumpur, the protesters' chants grow louder. The camera pans over a group of young volunteers distributing water bottles to the participants, a sign of the endurance and determination that will carry them through the long day of protest. One young demonstrator, interviewed briefly off camera, says, "This isn't just about Gaza. It's about the right to deliver food and medicine without fear of being stopped or arrested." His words echo a sentiment widely shared among the crowd that humanitarian efforts should be protected from geopolitical rivalries. As the footage progresses, a close-up shot shows older participants, some in their 60s, holding candles and photographs of those detained. They stand quietly, forming a solemn line in contrast to the more animated chants of the younger protesters nearby. This image underscores that the protest is as much about empathy and solidarity as it is about politics. Another segment shows the marchers beginning to move slowly towards the embassy gates, waving their flags rhythmically. The air is humid, the October sun high overhead, but the mood remains resolute. Throughout the protest, the presence of Malaysian police is visible but restrained. Officers stand behind barricades, observing but not intervening, allowing the demonstration to proceed peacefully. This calm security posture contributes to the protest's relatively orderly character on its second day. The voiceover reflects on how this protest has drawn diverse participation: students, professionals, religious leaders, and even members of humanitarian NGOs. For many Malaysians, this event is personal. The detained activists include their compatriots, reportedly among the crew and medical volunteers aboard the flotilla ships. The next scene captures a wide view of the crowd kneeling briefly in prayer, a moment that highlights the spiritual dimension of the protest. Afterward, chants resume, calling for an end to the blockade and urging the international community to intervene. As the demonstration continues, the narrator highlights that this protest in Kuala Lumpur is part of a larger global pattern. Protests are spreading from Southeast Asia to the Middle East, Europe, and the Americas, uniting disparate groups under the shared cause of humanitarian relief for Gaza and opposition to the naval blockade. The camera returns to a close-up of a group of women holding placards, their faces set in determined lines as they call out for justice and compassion. Some of the signs are painted with vivid red handprints, symbolizing the bloodshed in Gaza. The narration emphasizes that for the Malaysian public, this incident is not merely about distant geopolitics, but also about protecting their fellow citizens and asserting their nation's humanitarian voice on the global stage. The closing sequence of the footage shows the crowd gathered more densely in front of the US Embassy, the flag still waving, the chant still echoing through the afternoon. The protest shows no sign of waning as the day wears on, demonstrating the persistence and solidarity that have defined the second consecutive day of mobilization.